early it's,
First couple hours today.
First couple hours is going to be easy. I mean, first couple hours of a poker tournament, you're playing ABC poker. I will 3-bet. I'll 3-bet a lot in position and get people to call, and then more times than not, continuation bet and they fold. It happens more often than not. So you build a lot of chips that way. But other ways are just let people make a lot of mistakes, especially early on. There's going to be a lot of weak players in the field. You just try to maximize your value every hand.
I know what mistakes I'm looking for, but what are we talking about when we're making mistakes so we don't make those mistakes?
Well, I'll be honest. When I'm looking for players to capitalize on, I'm looking for guys that will raise with ace-jack, flop a jack, and just go broke with the hand. Those are the honeypot guys I'm looking for. I'm looking to call with, in position with random cards and flop really big hands and wait for the guy that's just going to give me all his money with one pair. Those are the guys you're looking for. You're looking to make a flush on the turn or whatever, and the guy just can't fold. More than anything else early on in the tournament, you're looking for two types of players. You're looking for the guy that you can run over later, and you're looking for the guy that will just never fold. And then you just play according to what you've seen in the first. The good thing about a tournament early on is you're not going to go broke unless you catch coolers or you just play really bad. But it's really a good time to pick up all the information you need for when the tournament really matters. And that is, what is this player doing? Is he just being aggressive? Is he a bluffer? Is he a caller? Is he a guy that you can run over? You're making those decisions at that point. And more or less, you're just trying to get comfortable with your table and feel your table out. But the thing is, you don't really force things to happen early on in the tournament. You just let sort of things come to you. I mean, you let people make mistakes into you. I mean, sometimes, you wake up with big hands and people just give you money. Other times you don't have chips and you have to create something later. That's the problem with a poker tournament. There's a lot of luck involved in one poker tournament. You got to sort of play the cards you're dealt, and early on in a tournament, you may not get chips early. I mean, you can do some 3-betting and things like that put a lot of pressure on people to try to accumulate some chips early on. That it's pretty safe to do that. But for the most part, you're just letting people make mistakes, and you're looking for the big pots where people can't fold their hand, and you can really just double through somebody. I mean, early on, you're looking for 1 or 2 really big hands to double up. And then from there, you get deeper in the tournament, and you're looking for people that are, it's deeper in the tournament that people in these fields make more mistakes. Early on, it's like playing a cash game. If you can beat a cash game, you're going to be able to beat the tournament here. But it's deeper in the tournament where people are making all their mistakes. They're 7-10 big blinds are calling the raises instead of shipping. They're opening and fold. They'll raise and they'll fold. They'll limp into pots. These are all mistakes that you'll see made today. Don't be that guy. Don't limp into pots. Don't. If you're coming into a pot, you got a hand good enough to be in a pot. Be aggressive, especially if there's antes out there. The worst thing you can do is to limp into a pot with being relatively deep. And if you're limping into a pot, you're probably out of position. And you're going to get raised, and you're sort of lost. So don't be the guy that's limping into a pot. That's going to be a mistake that you're going to see made. Don't be the guy that if you have a stack size that needs to be shipped, don't be calling with your queen 10 because you have position and you want to see what comes on the flop. You don't have enough chips to do that profitably. So if you have the queen 10 and you think this guy's opening too much, just go ahead and get it in. I mean, you're going to do better by getting it in that spot than trying to call and see flops with that short of big blind stack. But you'll see that a lot today. People will be calling with the king jacks and the queen 10s and the queen kings and things like that to try to play post flop when they really don't have the expected value, the value to do that. So you see that mistake a lot today. And then, people will probably, overvalue I mean, more times than not, they overvalue their hands. They never, especially deeper on the tournaments, if they flop top pair, I mean, it'd take a hand grenade to get them off of it. So, if you're looking, if you're lucky enough to flop a big hand and you know that one guy if a guy calls your flop bet and he looks pretty confident, you want to make sure you maximize all your value and get all your money in there. You want to, that's when I step up my betting, because I know if the guy calls it my continuation bet, and I've been betting a whole lot, and the guy looks at me and I feel like he's got anything, I'm pretty sure I can get his whole stack. And that's what you're trying to do. Just, get their whole stack as quickly as you can if you have a good hand.
We must adjourn. We'll take one more and then it's time for discussion.
You mentioned like it's not a good idea to limp in.
Yep.
But I'm wondering if you're in position and almost everybody limps in, you have a small pocket pair.
Yep.
Is the best strategy there maybe
Yeah,
to limp in?
that's the spot you limp. That's really the only time you really want to limp because it plays so well in a multi-weight pot, and it's, it's obviously, you want to see a flop as cheap as you can with a small pocket pair. It's even better if they're more people in it. But, if I'm in an early position, if I have a small pocket pair, I would rather raise anyways. I mean, I want to try to get down to, I want to try one or two people in the pot. I can't study 9 people at a time. I can look at and get a feel for 1 or 2 people. There's nothing wrong with limping with small pocket pairs. And the problem with limping with small pocket pairs in an early position is if that's what you're doing it with, and that's the only hand you're doing it with, then you're going to be really easy to pick off. And I don't know where you are. I mean, if we're playing for 9 hours and I see you limping every so often, okay, well, you got pocket 6s. I'll raise, and if you miss your flop set, then I'm just going to down the pot. You're going to miss it more times than you're going to hit it, obviously, and it's going to be profitable for me. So that's the problem with limping, is because it just gives away your hand. That's one thing you just don't want to do. And, you don't want to give away information, and by limping, you're never limping there with 9-10 or King Jack really so much. It's you're limping more with pocket pairs. That's the problem with limping.
All right, guys, if we want to get pictures and get stuff signed, we have to get through that in like 10-ish minutes here because he has that cash game at noon.
Sweet.